president. Now, my statement to you is, why do you think it was in the news that he's lifted sanctions on Russia's oil? Why do you think
that's a great one? Thank you so much. Thanks so much. I want to explain that completely. Why Trump lifted sanctions on Russian oil. So I want people, just for scale, because I know we do a terrible job with geography in this country. Look at the nation of Iran. Iran is the largest nation that America has ever attacked in our 250-year history. When we attacked Germany in World War II, they only had a population of 70 million people. When we were at war with Japan in World War II, they had a population of 72 million people. Iran has a population of 93 million people. When we're talking about economically, Iran is the richest nation we have ever gone to war with. This ain't Iraq. This ain't Afghanistan. This ain't Syria or one of these other little expeditions we get into. Iran has a space program. They have put satellites into orbit. We're talking about military-wise. Iran is a top 15 military in the world. So we're not talking about some little we're just going to launch some Tomahawk missiles and be done. Not to mention the fact that Iran has political continuity. Unlike a democracy like America, where we have different administrations every 4 years, where we have different Congresses every 2 years, and we don't really have any concrete policy, they have been able to build out their national strategy under one leader for 40 plus years. And the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, they are a sophisticated military that's able to control their populace. They're not simply a palace guard, as many non-expeditionary militaries are. They are a legitimate military that cannot just control their populations. They also can project power within the region. So when we bit off this at the behest of Netanyahu, because I remind people this is Netanyahu's war. He tried to convince Joe Biden to go into this war by feeding him the same false intelligence back after the October 7th attacks during the Biden administration. But Blinken and having an actual Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, and actual professionals in the room and not reality show hosts and podcasters, they were able to figure out that Israel was lying to them about the potential of a strike on America, and they kept us out of that war. Trump has a bunch of game show hosts and neocons around him that pushed him into this. So the reason that Trump released the sanctions on Russia, because the whole point of these sanctions that were put in place was to starve the Russian economy and starve their war machine until they had to capitulate on Ukraine to prevent the expansion of the war effort. Because if Russia can't afford to buy new airplanes, they can't afford to buy new missiles, they can't afford to buy new drones, then they have to come to the negotiating table, and it makes it more difficult for them to attack Europe, to attack international transit, and potentially to even attack America. Well, now Trump has realized that Iran is not playing with him. This is not a joke. This is not a game. Iran is in the catbird seat right now. When a nation is under siege, all they have to do is maintain defense. That's what Ukraine has been doing against Russia for the last 4 years. The offensive party is the one that has to gain territory, that has to hold populations. Military doctrine tells us that to occupy a nation, you have to have one soldier for every 1,000 citizens. It takes about one soldier to control 1,000 citizens. So for a nation of 93 million people, we're talking about nearly 10 million troops on the ground in order to try to occupy Iran. So the IRGC has no reason to push for a ceasefire. They have no reason to worry about what America is doing because they know that we cannot do a ground invasion and we have no ability to actually topple the regime. CIA has said the regime won't fall. The Mossad and the Netanyahu government said the Iranian regime will not fall. So the only way to ease the global markets for oil is to try to find oil anywhere we can find it. And so when you have these Russian tankers that have been sitting in the ocean for upwards of 2 to 3 years with no port that will take their oil, well, now we're in an emergency situation. We need to find every ounce of oil we can on the planet. And it's very clear that not only is Iran serious about shutting down the Straits of Hormuz and mining the Straits of Hormuz, they also may attack the Suez Canal and the international shipping that comes through there. That would be nearly 50% of the world oil supply, not to mention trade, good, gas, and everything else. So the reason they let loose those sanctions on Russia is because they understand at this point in time that they are in a position where they can no longer strategically win this war. And now they have to figure out how to mitigate things until they can convince Iran to come to the table. The Iranian supreme leader has said he wants war reparations after this because we attacked him without any casus belli. They have said that they want concessions from the U.S. in order to stop this. They believe that they can bleed us out before we can sustain the political and economic pain that's going to happen, and they are right. And Trump's administration did not plan for this, and they do not have a plan to get us out of this situation. We're going to hit a break real quick, but I'm going to hold you over. We're going to talk more about this after the break. So call